What is that?
What is happening?
What?
It sounded like somebody banging silverware on like a cat bowl. Who's banging silverware on a cat bowl?
Does it still sound like that?
No.
Not me.
Nope.
All right. All right. Sorry, YouTube listeners, but we're going now.
This podcast is part of the Gonna Geek Network. The opinions expressed may not represent other podcasts or affiliates of Gonna Geek. Check out more podcasts at GonnaGeek.com and get ready because geekness starts in 3, 2, 1.
You have been granted clearance by Director Phil Coulson. Stand by for S.H.I.E.L.D. debriefing. All information to be discussed here is classified and may only be discussed among agents granted clearance by the S.H.I.E.L.D. Director.
Now it's time for your scheduled debriefing. I'm Agent Stargate Pioneer.
I'm Agent Haley.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Agent Lobster.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., a Marvel Comic Universe podcast. This is podcast number 85 on Daredevil Season 1, Episode 10, Nelson v. Murdock. This podcast is recorded on Wednesday, August 12th, 2015. Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is a fan-based podcast on the ABC television show Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Marvel's Agent Carter, Marvel's Daredevil on Netflix, and the general Marvel Comic Universe.
Because of the best damn avocados this city has ever seen.
Yay!
If you'd like to talk to us about the best damn avocados this city has ever seen, you can find all of our contact information on our website, legendsofshield.com. We have a voicemail number, 844-THE-BUS-1. That's 844-843-2871. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube by searching for Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., or you can visit our forums at forums.gonnageek.com or by searching for Gonna Geek on the Tapatalk app.
This time on Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we are going to welcome Lobster to the podcast one last time, at least for Daredevil, I think. We're going to talk about Ant-Man, our Marvel Crate giveaway. We're going to talk about Nelson v. Murdock. We're going to talk a little bit about the wonderful success that Fantastic Four has been having. And we're going to talk, of course, about the weekly Marvel news and your feedback. Lobster, welcome back to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., sir.
Well, thanks. It's good to be here once again.
Once again.
To talk about this groundbreaking Supreme Court case that really, really set the tone for the rights of people with toxic waste splashed in their eyes. I think, it's
Somebody's got to defend him.
The rights of people with fake disabilities.
right.
He's still
But you're
disabled.
not. I'm blind, but you're not blind.
You're not blind.
Yes, of course, we're talking about Nelson v. Murdock. But before we get to that, we have a Ant-Man Marvel Crate giveaway. It's the Marvel Crate. It's got a lot of goodies in it. And all you have to do is what, Lauren?
What you have to do is call us and give us, or call us, email us, get a hold of us, and give us a funny review of Ant-Man. You've heard us, you know our sense of humor. Make us laugh.
Yep, and I will ship it to anywhere in the world, including our listeners on Christmas Island and Antarctica. So get in on that, people. Absolutely. So, yes, Nelson v. Murdock. It was written and directed by the same pair that did World on Fire, and I think they did an excellent job in both episodes. It was written by Luke Calto, who doesn't have much of a writing credit outside of Daredevil, but he was involved with the whole story. And if you want to hear a little bit more about what his position actually is in Daredevil, go back to our podcast, World on Fire, and you will hear the wonderful Mr. Keir, who is now the wonderful Mr. Engaged Keir, talk all about that position. And also, it was directed by Farron Blackburn. Again, World on Fire. I think these two make a great team, and it made for an excellent episode. It's fantastic. Loved it.
I love the little callback where they're like, yeah, World on Fire. I get it. We get it.
I know. I wonder if we would have gotten that if it wasn't for this pair.
I don't know.
I hadn't even thought of that.
That's why we talk about the director
right.
and the writer. Yeah, just in case. There you go. So, yeah, Matt's a little bit torn up on the couch. We don't get to see Night Nurse, but he's all stitched up.
Yeah, we get to see
Yeah.
his oozing gut wound.
Love it.
Boo,
Love some
show
oozing
us.
gut wounds. Which,
You know
why
what
does
I
he pull
love?
the
You know what I
bandage
love
off?
more?
He doesn't need to
Claire
look at it.
Temple.
Well,
It's
yeah.
true. It's true.
You can't. Okay. I don't know why she wasn't in this. She really should have been in it.
She should have. Everything is better with Rosario Dawson, and you can't argue with me on this.
Because
Not trying.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice. They got away with it because Foggy said, "Yeah, she was here," and then she refused to talk to me. Like, okay, that would have been nice to see. I would have loved to have seen Foggy make snarky quips at her, trying to get her to talk. That would have been some interaction that I would have loved to have seen.
Even
But
if we
I
just
think-
saw her leaving and just glaring and the
Yeah.
door shutting behind her, I would have liked that.
But
I don't think it
because
would have been
this-
enough, but I would have liked it.
I think because this episode is so much about Foggy and Matt, it's good that the scenes of the two of them, it's just the two of them. Like there are other stories in this episode. We get the pairing of
Karen and Ben.
yeah, Karen and Ben, like running off to. I wanted to call her Deborah, but that's the actress. I've got to get my head
Doris.
straight here.
Jeez, fail! It's all that 1990s Flash that you're watching.
It's muddled the mind a little bit to actually watch something that's well written. But I think the scenes of them together, it works so well because it's just the two of them. And
I'm sorry, Doris is the name of Ben's wife.
Yeah, it is. But I think he was saying Deborah, though, right?
Yeah, I said Deborah. Yeah, the
Okay.
actress, Deborah Ann Wall. But again, like I think the scenes with just the two of them, if it had been anybody else, then it would have distracted them from each other. Even when Karen calls, that's like a little bit of a distraction, and I think it just works so well, just the two of them in that room.
Yeah, it did. It's hard to debate that worked well because I mean they had this history together all the way back to I assume it's freshman year in college, right? When they first meet each other in the dorm room.
Yep.
He's got the wild mane hair and the goatee / beard going on or whatever. That's Foggy. And then clean cut Matt walks in and barges into the room and blind as he can be. And Foggy's like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "Yeah, is this the right room? Or is this the room?" He's
What are
like,
you, blind?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. And so
Sort of.
I think that was their freshman year. And you get all these flashbacks from the time that they're drunk to the time that they're in the bar when Foggy does the napkin to with their sign that they put up on the door later to their time at Langman and Zach to, everything in between, the graduation from... What school were they at? I didn't catch that. Does anybody know? Was it New York University or whatever?
Did they say?
Oh, they didn't.
I don't know if they said. I'm hoping that it was Empire University.
Empire State University.
Empire State, thank you. Yes, which is where Spider-Man went to school.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they said.
I mean, it felt like an NYU or a Columbia or something like that. Like it felt like they were still in the city.
Right, it
I
did.
think Empire State's supposed to be like Columbia, basically.
Yeah.
So you had all that interaction with them, the years that they were together, just like a regular Fred Flintstone, Barney Rubble or whatever, and now they have to come to terms with the fact that this was the way it was the whole time. Steal a Mrs. Doubtfire's phrase. The whole time. The whole time. The whole time. Wonderful movie there. Yeah. So you get to see this, and yeah, I agree that the two needed to be together. But again, Rosario Dawson, everything is better with Rosario Dawson. So there we go. So we had a little pre-podcast debate. Who's Maverick and who's Goose? So we're going to settle this once and for all. Who's Maverick and who's Goose?
I'm Maverick.
I mean, between Foggy and Matt.
Oh.
I don't know. I haven't seen that movie.
You're
I was gonna say
you're
Matt's
kidding.
Maverick.
With the great volleyball scene. You haven't
Yeah.
seen it?
I've seen that scene. I just haven't seen
Like
the whole movie.
the absolute straightest volleyball scene in movie history.
I wonder. Foggy raises a good point that Goose dies.
Yeah.
spoilers, but like he's like, oh, but Goose dies. Well, or no, I think Matt mentions that.
Yeah,
But
right. You don't want to
um,
be Goose. He
yeah,
dies.
So I feel like I don't want to. I don't want to preview too far in like the future, but I kind of feel like maybe they'd go that way with Foggy. Like they would have him.
Oh yeah, like
He'd
in
be
season
married.
2.
He'd be married. He'd be happy and everything, and then something bad would happen, and it would be bad.
So the comic book history of it is what?
Bad stuff happens to Foggy.
Yeah, bad stuff happens to
Yeah.
Foggy.
That stuff always happens to Foggy.
So the Marvel comics, and Haley backed me up on this. Like it went through a phase because sidekicks were really cool, and
Mhm.
then sidekicks stopped being cool. So bad stuff happened to all the sidekicks. Like
Right.
bad stuff happens to Robin. Bad stuff happens to Bucky. Bad stuff happened to Foggy. And then later they got worked back in somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, not good. Not good.
Bad stuff happened to Happy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
They also went through this thing where the sidekick got the hero's girl. All of them.
Well, didn't
And
we
then died.
kind of go down that route already? Kind of, sort of. I mean, it's headed that way.
It's romantic.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, again, I could kind of see them going that way. It's kind of an interesting parallel if you think about it.
So another amazing scene that happened in this that just captivated me. So I'm training for a race coming up. So I'm running on the treadmill. I'm huffing and puffing a little bit more so because I'm kind of trying to push myself. And then the whole scene with Gao and Fisk in the
Yes.
garden, and the rooftop garden comes up, and I'm like, I'm trying to focus on it because it's so captivating. Every single word means something. And
Then you're like, I've seen that rooftop before. Where have I seen that rooftop?
yeah, where have I?
Where have you seen that rooftop? Does anybody know?
No.
The first Spider-Man film with Toby. He drops. That's the rooftop. He drops
Oh.
Kirsten Dunst off at after the
Oh.
fight at the parade.
Huh.
Where he's bouncing around on the balloons and then she falls and he grabs her and swings off, and that's where he drops her.
Oh, my God.
Wow. So,
But
anyway.
yes, that fantastic scene, and it's one of those scenes that when you're watching it, you could watch that 3 or 4 times, and just the inflection, even with the Chinese, like so good.
It was. I think that was the longest foreign language conversation that we've had. It went on for it seemed like 5 minutes to me, but of course I was on the treadmill, so who knows. But it was for a long
you seemed to
time.
struggle with it.
Yeah, and then it finally clipped over when she said, I'm going to talk English now because I don't want you to mistake my words.
Which reminds me of the whole in Kill Bill when Oren Ishii kills that Yakuza boss and then says that, I'm going to do the rest of this in English so that you'll understand my meaning or something like that. I haven't seen that movie in far too long because I love that movie.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it reminded me of, just like in that tone of switching languages to drive home the point.
So is this the last time they meet face to face, or is it like one more time? I can't remember, and maybe
I can't
that's
remember.
spoilers for those
I know
people
she has
that-
another scene. I know she has another scene later on.
Okay.
I can't remember if this is the last scene with.
I know.
Yes.
I know she has scenes in the last episode, but I can't remember if any of them are with Fisk along the way.
But this, I mean, if this were it, like this is good. Like this is really, really good stuff. And we've talked about, at least when I've been on the show, about the development of Fisk character, and we get a lot in this episode of comparing Fisk with Matt and their missions
Yeah.
that they're on.
Yep.
And
We've talked about that at length in the last couple podcasts, but what's your take on it?
well, in this episode, you see Gao spell it out, and she's talking about Fisk as much as she's talking about Matt, or Matt as much as she's talking about Fisk, which is you can't be all shadow or all light, or you can't be
You
both.
can't be both.
You have to be one or the other. You have to decide which you are, and you have to be clear of purpose.
So, question: at the end, Leland spikes, or somebody spikes, all the champagne, and I assume it's Leland that did it. And did he do it in conjunction with Gao? Did he do it because Gao told him to do it, or did he do it on his own?
I always assumed that he did it on his own because he was really ticked off about how distracted Fisk was,
Yeah.
and just kind of took that weakness and ran with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I assumed, but because he was supposed to go off and talk to Gao, that Wesley and Fisk asked him to go do it. He didn't want to, but he's like, sure, if I don't, you're going to kill me, so might as well. And he never said that, but that's the feeling that you got. So he goes off and then comes back at the gala or at the fundraiser, whatever it was, and then it all happens. He's like, oh, I need a drink. And he never takes a drink out of the champagne. So clearly he knows. And then I think later we find out that, in spoilers, he actually did it. But the episode ends with Vanessa foaming from the mouth, and they haven't taken her to the hospital yet. So you're on a cliffhanger. If you're not on Netflix and going boom, 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 and watching these things back to back, you don't know what happens to her. So it's a cliffhanger whether she's alive or not.
Well, I want to point something out because that's not actually where the episode ends.
True.
That's where the Fisk plot line in this episode stops.
That's true. But
the closing shot is of the Nelson and Murdock sign in the trash.
Yep.
And that I was thinking about that too, because I was thinking back on the episode and I thought that it was ending with the foamy mouth scene, but it doesn't. It ends because this episode still is, despite that there are these other storylines, it's still about Foggy and Matt, and so it ends with that shot of the thing that they're most important to them that they built together in the trash, which I think is pretty powerful. But
okay, two things real quick. First of all, that shot reminded me of the whole Spider-Man No More
exactly.
cover.
Yeah, the costume in the trash can.
And the other thing was, I got the feeling, I think it was from a later conversation with Gao, that she thought it was really stupid that Leland did that. And so I kind of got the feeling that he was acting alone. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting. Traditionally, poison is seen as a woman's weapon because it's supposed to be really tough and manly to go up to somebody and stab them or shoot them or strangle them or whatever. And you look at historical figures like Lucretia Borgia, who is one of history's most famous poisoners, and that kind of gave the reputation for poison being a woman's weapon. And so you do have to wonder, was it the woman who ordered this, or was it the coward who is usually coded as weak, feminine, whatever, who did this?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, what does Leland have to gain from Fisk being strong and around? Because he knows eventually he's going to turn on him. So he's going to cut and run with the money. We know later on, I mean, we're jumping forward a little bit here, so sorry for the folks that are listening along with us, but this is August. It came out in April. Spoilers, sorry. But so he's already got a plan in place to financially set himself up. And he knows it's going to go there at any point in time. And eventually, there's no question in his mind that it's going to go there. So I'm wondering why he would do this with Vanessa. It just prolong the inevitable, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to get the motivation here.
To get Fisk mad enough that he'll make a mistake.
Yeah, just to knock him off center so that he's off his game.
Oh, so
when people are off balance like that, they lash out. They start making mistakes. They start taking stupid risks.
Right.
It's like what Stick pointed out. Having somebody you care about makes you emotional and stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Okay.
And this episode kind of sets up the end game too, because you've got the discovery of Fisk's mother, and that sets up the whole. I mean, really everything from what happens to Ben to what happens to Fisk's henchman there. What's his name?
Wesley
with the glasses. Yeah, like
the
that.
Hufflepuff.
Yeah. I mean, and that does kind of get towards this is episode 9, right? 10.
10.
So this is 10. So this is like setting up the last kind of act of the season.
3 more left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go by fast.
Yeah, I can't wait. The last few have been set up and building a crescendo. I think this was important as well for, as you mentioned, Ben and Doris. Ben having to finally come to terms that Doris is not going to get better, that his insurance has run out, and everybody's trying to help him out as much as they can, but it's the inevitable. And then Karen uses that because it's just a coincidence, right? She finally finds the records that the woman, that Fisk's mom, is up in this rest home in upstate New York, and she's trying to tell him, but he's quitting because of her. So she uses that. She manipulates him to go up and check it out with her. And I think that's wise. I think she should not have gone alone. But they have that wonderful conversation and find out the history of what really happened. And it ends with them. Does it end with them in the car, or does it end with them still in her room?
I think they're still in the room, and it's like he was a good boy, such a nice boy. He didn't mean to do it, you know.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh.
Yeah, Mom snowed over a little bit. Although she's the one who got the saw too.
Yeah, exactly.
Marvel does such a great job in aging actors. It was the same actor, right, that played Fisk's mom?
I don't actually know.
Oh, I'm not sure about.
We're gonna have to look that up. I'm assuming it was, and that they aged her, and that was phenomenal if they did that.
I don't think it was, but
well, they're also good at
casting
other actors that kind of fit the part as well.
Except for Dominic Cooper. When does he turn into John Slattery? That one I'm not quite sure about.
About 1953.
Whenever Agent Carter series ends.
Which actor's easier to get?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, so that's a great scene, and that kind of revelation, like seeing it on their face, like, oh, Wilson, Fisk, Fisk, what? Yeah, that's
heard
great.
that name in a while. Yeah, Willie. All right, and another note that I had for the episode was that while in the flashbacks with Foggy and Matt at Leland, or I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the law firm all of a sudden.
Luckman and Landau, Luckman and Lake, right?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Lemon and Zach.
Yeah. So they're there, and the case that they're hearing is about a Roxxon oil case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Roxxon.
yeah.
So ties in all over the place, and of course, I don't know if we've seen the back of Ben's office with the with both news stories up there, with the Harlem news story.
Yeah.
We have seen that before.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
but again, that's good stuff to keep reminding the audience of.
Yeah, it's still the same universe. Absolutely.
So let's talk about one of my favorite callbacks of the series, or Easter eggs of the series, taking Spanish to cozy up to a Greek girl.
Yeah. Okay.
Wait, soon you be taking Greek? Oh, she already speaks Greek. We're learning Spanish.
Right.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, ah!
So obviously referring to Electra Nachos?
Right.
Nachos.
Which is been cast?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we talked
season
about
2.
casting like the last time that I was on.
Right.
But
yeah.
that's good. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That reference, I think that's something that all the fans were waiting for. Be like, are they going to tease Electra in any way? And that's like a perfect way to kind of work it in, and it establishes that they have history. So when they meet again, you'll kind of have that backstory, and they'll get to tease that out, maybe through some flashbacks or something. And it's just enough that you're like, okay, but it doesn't feel too much like pandering.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you get it, you feel in the know. You don't get it, you're not missing out on anything.
Right, exactly.
And either way, it's going to be nice when she shows up.
Yeah. And you're right, it fits with the characters where they're kind of talking about being wingmen and having conquests and stuff like that, and then, it just comes up in conversation.
Yeah, so lots of stuff in this
I didn't get the chance. Lobster wasn't on when we were talking about the last episode.
Yeah.
When the Hand is saying that we have somebody with the skill to take care of, the masked man,
Yes.
and then Nobu runs off and does it alone. Do you think they were talking about Elektra?
Maybe.
Yeah, we didn't discuss that.
Yeah, I think that's a possibility.
Yeah.
And you think that Nobu was like, no, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, he's like, I'm here, I got this,
Yeah,
and then
I got
he did
this.
not got this, and he was on fire.
He did not.
His world was on fire.
His world was on
I
fire.
see what you did
That's
there.
that fight is so brutal too.
It was. It was just as we talked about it last time. You didn't get a chance to hear it.
Yeah,
it was
no.
It was like a boxing match,
Yeah.
right? Because it was a flashback in different sections as it
chopped
went
it up.
along. Yeah, so it
Uh-huh.
was like a boxing match. Yeah.
And this episode too, like he does not move from that couch because there's no way.
The whole episode is
This
from
episode,
him.
It felt more like like a courtroom interrogation.
Yes. Yeah. The whole episode, as far as Matt was concerned, he was laying flat on his back, and then he slowly was able to sit up throughout the entire time. He slept a little bit, got up, that sort of thing.
And one thing that I really appreciate about this episode in the revelation to Foggy about what Matt is capable of, that Foggy asks and brings up a lot of really good points. Like, you're listening to someone's heartbeat. Like, isn't that invading their privacy? Like, is that an invasion? Is that crossing a boundary? Like, he brings up all of these, I think, really good points about the implication of having these powers and how that would affect your relationship with someone.
Yeah. And then we also got to see the flashback of his very first night on the town.
Yes. So is this the origin story that we kind of had been hoping for? They've kind of teased out the origin story throughout the season, but this is the first time you see him in action.
Yeah, okay, so origin story, what's the definition of that? Because that was his first night actually saving the city, so to speak. But
Well, it was his first night putting on a mask because he did have the like blindfold over his eyes, which I thought was a cool look.
yeah.
So that was the first time he assumed that identity, I think.
It was the birth of the Man in Black.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like everything had led up to that.
Because
but that was the moment that the switch flipped and he went out and
okay,
did something.
I'll agree with that. The only thing I was going to say is his training was stick in the past. I mean,
Right. And that's all like leading up to it.
Yeah.
But I think like it doesn't matter until he actually did it.
Right. My notes are out. You got anything, Lauren?
Yes, actually. Okay, something that I've seen mentioned in many reviews of this episode and that, yes, I did think about at the time. Okay, there was some serious sexual tension between Matt and Foggy in this episode. A lot of the stuff a lot of their dialogue and all that is stuff that you traditionally hear between like, the traditional Hollywood like male-female team up. Like was any of this even real?
Right.
Like that sort of thing. And I mean, yeah, it's these two are close and everything, but it kind of reminded me of Hot Fuzz, and
Yes.
it kind of reminded
Yes.
me of if we're supposed to be drawing parallels between Matt and Fisk, which we clearly are, then is Foggy Matt's Vanessa?
Yes.
Yes.
And how they react to the revelation of what the other really is.
Yeah, Vanessa is, she's allured by this.
Yeah.
And Foggy's horrified.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you'd think it would be the opposite. Usually it's like, oh, my best friend's a superhero. This is awesome.
Yeah.
And oh, my significant other's a crime lord. This is terrible.
Yeah.
Complete 180. I
Yeah.
loved that inversion.
I completely agree with you. However, I'm not sure I would term the relationship descriptor as sexual. I didn't see that. Was I just blind to it, or is it really there?
I think the level of emotion is like these are two people who love each other.
Okay.
And so anytime
Foggy even tells him, you're a good looking guy.
yeah, right.
So-
But anytime you have that level of connection between the two of them, and And think about the scene earlier when they were in their intern closet. They're literally in a closet. No, wait, no, I'm not gonna. That's not what I mean. The scene where like you learn that Foggy will follow Matt, like even though he's terrified, his trousers are literally filled with urine. That he will follow Matt where Matt wants to lead him, and I think like that he's got that complete level of trust in him, and then he finds out that there's this whole other side of Matt that he didn't know about, and that's literally earth
Yeah.
shattering for him.
A big betrayal of trust there. Yeah, without a doubt. Anything else, Lauren?
No.
Okay. Lobster, you got anything?
How many fingers am I holding up?
That was fun. I've got that in my notes now. One finger.
So, okay, something related to that, not directly related to this episode. A few of my friends are blind, and apparently, okay, if you meet somebody who's blind or visually impaired or colorblind or anything like that, do not do the how many fingers am I holding up? What color is this? Anything like
Right.
that.
It's not polite.
It's not polite. It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Just don't bother.
But if the
you're
person
not
has
clever.
been pretending to be blind,
Right.
I think you get a pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in this particular case it's okay. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, Lauren. Don't do it to anybody.
Yeah, just
It's
don't.
like hey,
it makes you look like the world's biggest asshole. You're not
It's
clever.
like-
You're not funny.
the scene where he's like, "Hey, I'm blind, Matt Murdock," and he's like, "Most people just say
Matt Murdock. Yeah. You got anything else, Lobster?
No, I think that's it. That's it for this episode. Thanks for having me on to talk about this one in particular. This was one of my favorites from the series, and I'm glad that they built to it in a natural and organic way, and that when they did have it I don't think that we've seen this scene in lots of other comic book stories, the reveal of the secret identity and stuff. We've seen that in a lot of different places. I think this is probably my favorite interpretation of it and handling of it. I think it's so plausible and realistic. The kind of dialogue that they have about it just makes so much sense.
And unlike a movie, they actually had the time to devote to it.
Yeah. But again, like we've seen it in TV series as well. Like Arrow every other week practically, like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm the Arrow or I'm the Flash, Haley, right? Like
Right.
it happens pretty regularly, and often it feels mishandled there. That's something that we've kind of talked about. But this, I think, to me, works the best of any that I've ever seen.
Haley, the floor is yours, ma'am.
Before I get to quotes, at the beginning of the episode, Matt takes the bandage off of his side, and I wondered why he did that, because it's not like he needed to look
He
at
doesn't
it
need
or
to look.
something.
Just to gross
He
out
just
the
wants
audience.
he wants to evoke sympathy from Foggy by making Foggy look at it.
But
Maybe.
Foggy's on the other side of the room getting a beer.
And Foggy does not care. It's like, suck it up.
I think it was just to gross out the audience and show that he had been patched up, I guess.
Well, I think they were
Losing
trying to show us his
roots.
abs, but they forgot that it was in the middle of a nasty wound.
Wait, yeah, he had that I don't even know what to call it, that Sith-like blade that was stuck into him multiple
It was a
places.
Kasarigama.
Yeah, Kasarigama? Yeah, whatever. It was a meat hook with him, basically, and just really tore him up. So, yuck.
Gross. Okay.
Gross.
Come on. You got your peepers knocked out, saving that old dude.
Peepers. They're not actually knocked out. Still. Oh, good, because that would be creepy.
That would be so weird. Yeah.
I thought you long underwear type stitched those together yourself.
That I did enjoy. Like, I just ordered it on the internet. Like, everything.
Yeah, which is kind of great because you can order all that stuff on the internet,
Pretty much,
and this is
yeah.
why we've seen so many, Netflix Daredevils walking around at
Right.
cons lately. It's pretty
Oh,
great.
it's great. Yeah. Love the cosplayers.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. I look like most people? I don't know. I can't see you.
Right.
Okay. Grande avocados.
Yeah.
Love it. Is avocado a fruit? It's more of a vegetable, right? Like,
Avocado's
vegetable
a
at
fruit.
best.
It's obviously a fruit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to steal as many bagels as I can fit into this box.
And yet he puts no bagels in the box. He puts his toy dinosaurs in there.
Well, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that'd be the first thing I'd take.
I've been reading Thurgood Marshall.
Oh. Nothing
Marshall
good
again.
comes from that, yeah.
And that's it.
The thing, though, is that Foggy was in the same room as Matt was, and even though Matt knew the guy was lying and that
yeah.
it was the right side of the law of what was actually occurring, it was the wrong move. It was a dick move, the way that it was being handled, and he didn't want to have any part of it anymore. And while Foggy didn't know completely, he saw where it was going as well. He tried to argue it against it. He couldn't make it. And they're the top two in their class, so they can write their own ticket anywhere. And they couldn't do it. They couldn't stay there, Landman and Zach, and try to change it from within 15 years later when they get corrupt. I've seen The Firm. I know what happens there.
Yep.
Okay.
It's,
Real quick, Haley reading the dialogue made me remember another thing. But well, okay, it's not so much remembering as something that I wanted to bring up earlier. Their banter back and forth, especially in the flashbacks, reminds me of another show with a blind character, Avatar: The Last Airbender. There's this one character, Toph. She's a 12-year-old girl. She's blind,
the
and
best.
she is the best. She can earthbend better than literally everyone on Earth. She's fantastic. And the way that because of that, they just keep kind of forgetting that she's blind because she can, like, quote unquote, see through vibrations in the ground because of her connection to the Earth. So they'll do stuff like, "Hey, what does this say?" And she's like, I don't know, I can't read," and just
So
stuff
ask
like
her
that.
to hang up flyers and stuff.
Yeah,
and
she'll,
she'll
like,
hang them
put 'em-
upside down and backwards.
Yeah. And then they fall through. It's like, I can't see anything. Oh no!
Were you done with quotes there, Haley?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this was a good episode. I'm glad, Lobster, we had you on for it since it is your favorite. It is your favorite, right? You said that?
I don't know. I don't know if it's my favorite. It's a little light on the action.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely one of the best written of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be great. We're going to talk about episode 11 next time. 3 more episodes left. It is definitely going to be a fun ride up to the end, the path of righteousness, and on to the end. So that's all cool. And next, we're going to talk a little bit about the awesome success Fox has had lately with their Marvel properties.
Ooh.
So, Lauren, have you seen the newest Fantastic Four movie?
I have not.
Haley, have you seen the latest Fantastic Four movie?
No, I have not.
Lobster, have you seen the latest Fantastic Four movie?
I have not, and apparently a lot of people did not go see the newest Fantastic Four
And the
movie.
people that did were totally dissatisfied. Yes, I did not see it either. What's the Rotten Tomato score now? Like 9%, 8%?
It is sitting at 9%.
Oh.
Is it
Ouch.
better or worse than Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance?
Ooh.
That is information I need.
Oh, wow, that's
Can you pull that up, Lobster, real quick?
Okay. It is. Okay, now here we go. I know it's doing better financially
Yeah.
than Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance.
It did make $60 million worldwide.
It is
Yeah,
worse
actually-
on Rotten Tomatoes, though.
oh my
It is
God.
worse, yeah. Ghost Rider is 17%. It's
Oh,
got it's in the
jeez.
double digits.
And
You know why? Because Nicolas Cage makes everything better.
Right.
Because Nicolas Cage pisses fire. Yeah.
so I was wondering if this was just a big F you at Fox. We've seen what happened with Sony, with Spider-Man. We want you to give the property back to Marvel Studios so we can have an integrated Marvel universe, so that the first Marvel family can come home on the screen, sort of thing. But the more I talk to people that actually saw the movie, like Wing, like Anthony Bachman on ATGN, they all say the same thing. It's not good. It's a little pretty, but it's not good. So, okay, Lobster, you have a little bit of history. What went wrong with the production?
So much, so much. Okay, so first off, just for background, the film came in number 2 at the weekend box office.
It's
I think
opening weekend.
that's opening weekend. Yeah, a big stinky number 2. I think. Just in terms of the domestic gross so far, it's right at about 30 million. Again, that's against like a $200 million production and marketing budget. Just to like take a guess at what it costs to make the movie.
Yeah.
So they're looking at a significant loss, and I'll get to that in a bit. But just compared to like Green Lantern, the 2011 film, that opened at opening weekend twice what Fantastic Four made
Ouch.
in 2011 dollars. So I mean, it's setting up to be a spectacular failure,
Yeah.
A
and
fantastic failure.
a fantastic flop, one might say. So there's a couple questions, and I'll kind of go through the list pretty quickly here because I don't think we want to waste too much time
No.
talking about this. And again, this had been a troubled production from the start. There was kind of like a casting controversy, and I'm using air quotes around controversy because it was like a pretty specific segment that were upset, and I'm not going to call them racists, but people that were upset that Michael B. Jordan had been chosen to play Johnny Storm. And like, I think it's a case of it's an actor who had history with the director. It's an actor who is a good actor,
Yep.
and just picking the right person for the role. And I think like a lot of people that defended the choice said, let's see how it plays out in the film, because I think what the director was trying to go for, what the studio was trying to go for would be good, but unfortunately, based on all reports that I've seen, nowhere is it really addressed. It's not even used as a strength in the film. It's just kind of like there and not really dealt with. So I think people were kind of disappointed about that. Just in terms of the director, Josh Trank, his last film was Chronicle. That kind of like made him a name. He kind of like made a name for himself about these kids who end up with superpowers, and then it kind of goes from there. So it kind of felt like this was going to be Chronicle 2, just with the Fantastic Four characters. Trank, for whatever it's worth, really alienated the studio. And it's kind of like weird because you look at these like rumors going back and forth about what happened. So there's a rumor that when they were shooting in Louisiana, the studio paid for like this rental house for him to live in, and apparently his dogs trashed the place, and they had to pay $100,000 worth of damage to fix all that. So at some point, and again, this is where like the dispute kind of lies, the studio basically shut Trank out of the movie and said, like, you're done. We'll take it from here. They went back and reshot a bunch of stuff. Apparently, you can see in the film very clear based on Kate Mara's wig, where the reshoots are taking place. And this is when the word of mouth started going. And again, like Fox has done this before with the X-Men film, the Origins Wolverine, and like took it in a really weird direction and basically shut Gavin Hood out of that. And like again, they're saying that so the director like had a script and like everything was ready to start shooting, and they'd done pre-production, and then Fox came in and said, okay, there were like 3 key action sequences in the film, and they said you have to drop all of those. So from
Yeah.
everything that I've heard, the first probably 2/3, 3/4 of the movie, there's really no action because they're like, we're just gonna do whatever.
There were scenes in the trailers and the
Yeah,
commercials that were not in the movie.
yeah, a lot of the marketing stuff doesn't actually take place
Which
in the
happens
movie.
a lot, actually,
It-
but it was too much. It was, normally it's one or two scenes. This
Right.
was like most of the trailer.
Right. So there's also like more stuff. Just and again, this is all behind the scenes stuff. I'm not even really addressing what's on the screen. Like there were rumors that Trank was either so disillusioned with the job or basically just being himself. I don't know, but like showing up at the set stoned,
Or
like
drunk or
or
whatever.
drunk,
Yeah.
like not really engaging with the crew and stuff like that. He had been set to do a Star Wars film, one of the anthology
Oh
pictures
yeah.
that coming
Yeah.
up, and like suddenly that evaporated.
Yep.
And then right after the film came out, there was that tweet.
Yep.
So Josh Trank tweeted, a year ago, I had a fantastic version of this, and it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's reality, though, which he immediately deleted, but of course, screenshots.
You can't delete something off the internet.
Yeah, like
Yeah, the
it's
internet
out.
is forever, people.
Not with that. I mean, I guess if it was out for like 10 seconds or something like that, he could have maybe called it back and winning.
Right.
But
Which
No, the second somebody sees
people
something
grab
like that,
it.
everyone's going, "Ooh, print
click.
screen."
Yeah.
Yeah.
and honestly, like that will probably be his saving grace from all of this because if he's ever going to work for a studio again, like he has to prove that he like the decisions that were made he was cut out of.
I still don't see him getting any big budget.
I don't see it either, to be honest with you.
I think he'll get more. I mean, a lot of people like Chronicle.
Yeah.
I do not. I don't like the teen egg stuff. Okay, fine. A lot of people did. A lot of people thought that Chronicle was the most amazing film out there. Fine. So Josh Trank did that movie. He can do it again. It was low budget, so
Yeah.
he can work his way
And-
back up.
Kind of the other thing about Chronicle, he had a co-writer on that, Max Landis, who is a guy who's pretty well regarded in the kind of comic book community. He did a really great YouTube series on the death of Superman.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
So like, and he's already writing other films. He's got a Victor Frankenstein movie coming out later this year. Like, so he's getting work, and he evidently also did a draft of a script for this movie, which I think he posted the first 4 pages of. So you can kind of check out his direction, and it feels much lighter and much more humor. I don't know if it would have been, what the studio was looking for. It was very clear that they wanted to go a different direction. But and I guess the last thing that's worth saying, like why the film underperformed from the get-go, and then I want to talk more about the film itself. But I don't know really, and you guys tell me how you feel about this. Can the Fantastic Four work as a film franchise? Because this is the third kind of take on doing the Fantastic Four. And the first one I know doesn't really count because it never saw the light of day except in bootlegs. But I mean, it's obviously one of the venerable Marvel properties, but is it something that can be a successful film, or would you rather just stick with cartoon shows and stuff?
I think it would work better as a cartoon or something like that. I think that, well, first of all, I don't like Reed Richards. I'm not particularly interested in Sue Storm. It's like the older I've gotten, the less interested I am in them as as characters. The thing I like about the Fantastic Four is their villains. I
Yeah.
really, really, really like Doctor Doom, and I want somebody to do Fantastic Four, right, so we can get a good Victor Von Doom, but I just don't see it happening.
I see too many similarities with the Sony Spider-Man deals, and Sony didn't do a bad job with Spider-Man. It was just that they couldn't do as good a job with Spider-Man as the rest of Marvel could, including it in the universe. I think you can include Fantastic Four in the universe somehow. Now, I don't know if that's Marvel or Disney buying the property back,
Yeah.
or if it's doing a Sony similar deal, but I would like to see that possibility because I don't think Fantastic Four and the X-Men really would work if that was your only two properties. I think it needs to be a broader play. I think you can do exactly what Marvel Comics is doing right now and put the characters in the rest of the universe. I think that would work.
If they did it right, they could tie them together very well because Reed and Sue's son turns out to be a very powerful mutant. So they could tie those together since they own both of those property rights. They just have not chosen to go that route and haven't been able to keep the Fantastic Four going long enough for them to have a child.
And I think the thing like that the perfect Fantastic Four film has already been made, The Incredibles.
Exactly.
And like that's the model because it worked on bringing in the retro 60s feel. It worked on building the family dynamic, which is what the Fantastic Four is about. It worked on those cool retro touches and the humor also that kind of goes along with it. So like that's the model, and unfortunately like nobody making these films with the possible exception, and this is strange because you're going to hear me defend the Roger Corman produced unreleased Fantastic Four. At least that kind of understood the tone, and it worked on that kind of like campy and fun level. And if you go back and watch it now, it's actually kind of a lot of fun. And again, not a great movie, but it's at least an attempt at kind of doing it right. But if you've seen the film, I'm not going to go into like everything that people have said about the movie, but like basically all of the reviews agree. It's boring, it's too dark, there's not enough action. Everybody complains about Doctor Doom and how they again kind of botch that character. But the fact that this is going to wind up costing Fox like $60 million, right? Like it costs $200 million to make, and if they're going to be lucky if they get anywhere close to getting that kind of money back. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, the early reviews are the $60 million loss. We'll see if because it's going to have a tremendous drop off, but then you consider DVD sales or whatever. Anthony Bachman on ATGN said if you pay more than $2 to watch this movie, you will be mad at yourself. So wait until it's in Redbox. Wait until it's on Netflix.
I can't imagine spending any money to watch it.
And I'm glad we pulled it from our schedule because I don't really want to do it.
I'm curious.
Right. How bad is that?
Well,
but I mean, like,
not curious enough to spend money.
The thing is, I like bad movies.
Right. And you live in a place that has beer in your theaters.
Right.
Well, yeah, but those theaters are also more expensive.
Okay.
So the ones that I like to go see there are ones that I know I'm going to have fun at. This, some movies are bad, but they're bad because they're boring.
Yeah,
I don't like those movies. I like the movies that are bad because they're just so over the top, or you could see somebody tried really hard. I don't like the ones that are just like soulless and boring and just
like nobody here cares about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And this, like, to me, it feels like a disappointment too, because I was really excited about the cast.
Yeah.
And with the four themselves. And I was really excited about that, but then to see not only were their talents really wasted in this film, but from all reports, like the characters themselves, like they never really got to the point of explaining how they became a team, let alone a family.
There was a hard cut from, I guess, their origins to like a year later or something like that.
And again, that's part of the reshoots and everything that they did. So I guess like the question coming away from this is, I mean, really there are two questions. Will Fox make another one? And
right now they're towing the line. They're saying Fantastic 2 in 2017. It's still a go.
I don't see it happening. Like that would be throwing good money after bad.
I think the only reason that they're saying it right now is the film is still out in the theaters and they want to get as much traction as they can while it's out there.
The other rumor swirling around is because Deadpool has gotten so much early buzz that they might try to fast track a Deadpool 2 and put that in there.
Instead, that'd be a tight shoot, but
very tight turnaround. But to just like keep that date. They might keep Fantastic Four in there for the time being. But again, like, who knows? And then the other question, which is you kind of brought up a little bit earlier, is this going to lead to Marvel getting the rights back, the Marvel Studios proper, working out a deal, maybe like they did with Sony to get Spider-Man in the universe? Or, I mean, honestly, I don't see Marvel at this point being willing to pay the money for it, because if it comes down to something like they have to pay Fox to get the rights back, I don't think the rights are really worth
Well, okay,
that.
so
You know what I mean?
we talked about this week on Gonna Geek, and I brought up the point that okay, so it failed, and the franchise right now obviously isn't worth the stock price to pay prime dollar for it. But you're talking not just Marvel Studios. You're talking about the mouse. And if the mouse is thinking 20 years down the road, I want to have all these things underneath my roof eventually, this is the perfect time to come in and say, okay, we can throw some kind of a deal together, whether it's, like I mentioned before, like the Sony deal, or whether it's out and out buying the property at a much inflated price. They would at least have the rights to the characters back.
I
I
don't
still
think they even need the Fantastic Four that much. They would like to have some of those villains, though. The Skrulls, Galactus, Silver
Right.
Surfer.
Namor, I think,
Namor.
being
And-
a big one, because you can tie him into
Wait, I
a
thought
lot of
Namor was under, like, Universal or something.
I thought,
that's a good question.
oh, yeah.
You're right.
I thought he was
might,
one of those that was owned by somebody else that was like, wow,
he
really?
might be. He might be. But I think so. I think the clock is 7 years. They have to have
Yes.
a new film in production
Yeah.
within 7 years to keep the rights. And I think we're going to see that clock tick down, and then we'll see something happen. I mean, obviously, I think the fans would want the rights to go back as quickly as possible, and I think there's a petition out there to that end. But
Yeah.
I don't see it going any faster than at least 5 years from now, if Fox doesn't turn it around and make another one.
It can be done well. I think.
Oh, absolutely. And I think Daredevil is proof of taking a film franchise that didn't work out, retooling it, and making it into a great TV series. And I think Fantastic Four in particular would be well suited for that long form treatment, because I think part of where the movies stumble is trying to cram everything into 2 hours. And if you can build it slower and build that family and that universe slower, that could really work well.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll see. It's all disappointing that a comic book movie in this day and age had to flop like this, but
Do you guys think this? I mean, you guys have mentioned before, like the bubble. Like, do you feel like this is the Marvel bubble bursting, or is this just a fluke and the result of?
I can't say that
think-
this is the.
I think it's starting to leak.
Yeah, I don't think this is the Marvel bubble bursting, but I think it's the comic bubble bursting, and I'm really curious to see how Superman versus Batman works.
You mean Superman v Batman?
Whatever.
Batman, Superman, keeping the
Nelson
courtroom theme.
Nelson v. Murdock.
I think-
Nelson v. Murdock.
From what I understand, that since this movie was so, I guess, relatively joyless, that
It does.
one of the things that people respond to with the Marvel movies is that there's an amount of fun in them.
right.
Yeah, that's what it makes it entertaining, so to speak.
And it's I think it's more damning for the DC pictures, because like Lauren said, like that it's about that tone. And if obviously Man of Steel was like, there was maybe one joke in the entire film. Like, if they keep going in that direction, like even the Nolan films had humor, and if they keep going in that direction and suck all the fun out of it, I think that's going to be bad. Whereas even like clearly what they're doing with Deadpool, they're going to bring in a lot of humor. I think Fox is probably still okay in terms of the X-Men films.
for now.
For now, yeah. But I think that there's so much evidence of this film just being mismanaged from the very beginning that I don't think it's a surprising failure.
Okay.
There's nothing about this that really shocks me.
So let's just assume that Disney follows my plan and buys the property back. They're going to hire Lauren and Haley to fix the issue. Ladies, please tell us your solution.
Have some fun.
Yeah. Go back to.
It's kind of hard right now, isn't it?
The thing is, I really don't like the Fantastic Four.
Neither do I.
I like Johnny Storm when he's hanging out being bros with Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I like when X-23 has to like babysit Franklin and Valeria. But just as a whole, I just don't like the Fantastic Four all that much.
So break up the characters and have them inserted
just
into.
have them,
or
if you're going to do that, have them do shorts. Do shorts with the Fantastic Four, where it's this dysfunctional family of superheroes tries to do everyday stuff, and wacky hijinks happen.
I think like the perfect Fantastic Four film is a combination of Incredibles and Guardians of the Galaxy. Like if they can tie in now listen, because if they can tie in like the retro touches and the family element of The Incredibles, which I think we can all agree is a pretty good movie, and also the like psychedelic, trippy outer space adventures, and like Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example of a movie that ought to be unfilmable. Like a lot of, I think, filmmakers would say that Fantastic Four you probably couldn't do. Like, how are you going to do a talking rock monster and stuff like that? But they did a talking tree who only said 3 words. Like that worked.
4 words. Oh yeah,
4
5.
words. Fair enough.
5.
But
5.
If they can make Guardians of the Galaxy work, then there's no reason they can't make a Fantastic Four film work. Or I think better yet,
I think what you have to do is just skip the origin story. We all know the origin story. Just go straight to them just having an adventure. Just make it a flat out comedy adventure movie and just go with it.
On their 5-year mission to research the galaxy, right?
Just didn't Reed Richards like turn the Skrull like leaders or something like that into cows or something? Do that story.
Yes, that did happen.
There's infinite, I think, possibilities.
It's like why they hate Reed Richards, because he turned their somebody important to them into cows. And Reed Richards is a dick.
And then they were like, "Fine, we'll make a Super Skrull."
Right.
See, do that. Do like the wacky one-upmanship between the Fantastic Four and the Skrulls, and it's all Reed Richards' fault, and his family just keep getting dragged into it.
Does this mean I get to punch a spaceship? Yes, Ben, you get to punch a spaceship.
All right. I think that's enough Fantastic Four for today. If anything comes out in the following weeks, we'll mention it in the news segment, which, by the way, we're going to get to right after we talk about if you like this sort of content, we have a bevy of podcasts out there. And there's one in particular that is also delving into some really bad content. They will admit it. And that would be Crimson Comet this summer. Lobster, what are you guys doing on that lately?
Well, Haley, Will, and I are on a journey through the 1990s Flash series. And it's bad. I think I've mentioned it. I think Haley's mentioned it. It is bad.
It's a struggle.
It's an example of something done poorly that can later be revisited and done well.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just like the Fantastic Four, hopefully, in whoever owns it.
Sorry. Nobody watching the 1990s Flash was like, someday they're going to make a really great Flash series. I can tell by watching this.
Yeah. There you go. All right. So, yes, Crimson Comet, I believe your latest episode is number 30, I think.
Something around there.
Yeah, something around there.
A couple more episodes coming up soon.
Yeah, and then the series starts again in October 6th, I believe.
It does.
That sounds about right, yeah.
To the C-dubs.
So catch that. Catch Crimson Comet. They will every week bring you not live content of them talking about the Not the 1990. That would be horrific. The
Well, we are toying. We are
2014.
actually toying with the idea of doing a live riff track style commentary of the Trickster episode with Mark Hamill.
Oh yeah,
that would be great.
So-
I would love that.
At a date to be determined,
Right.
that may happen.
Do it.
Awesome.
Do it.
All right, so catch that on the Gonna Geek Network. That's the Crimson Comment about the Flash TV series on the CW. So on to the news for the week. We got a couple of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stories coming at you. One is Elizabeth Henstridge is teasing Gemma's fate. Did you guys read this story?
I did.
What'd you think about it?
Bring my science baby back safe, please.
I just
bring her back.
needed to hear the science baby again. And then also Chloe Bennett teased her Quake costume for season 3. Haley, what'd you think about that?
I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah? Tell us your first impressions as the article appears on your
My very
screen.
slow internet.
Yeah.
She thinks it's really cool.
Yeah, there you go.
That's all the information we get.
I think we
It's
talked
really cool.
about the gauntlets before. So, yeah, it'll be fun seeing that. And then in Agent Carter, apparently Madame Masque is going to be the villain of season 2, right?
Yeah.
Madame Masque.
See, I thought Ward's girlfriend, whose name I've already forgotten, was going to be Madame Masque.
Agent
33.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, she could be the new Madame Masque, right?
Yeah.
It
Well,
could be a-
she's kind of dead.
Now she can't.
Well,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so what if the mask actually puts her in stasis and repairs the damage with the nanites from the mask? It could happen.
I don't think it's gonna happen.
Dead
Yeah,
is dead.
she
Unless
dead.
it's not.
It's comic books. There you go.
She did.
But yes, Madam that'll be cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do it. I'm looking forward to seeing who they cast.
Right.
Doesn't
that's
really
what I-
matter.
Yeah, right.
No, it really doesn't. But well, what are they gonna do with the mask? I mean, yeah, you picture that mask, which, by the way, what?
What if what's her face is Madame Masque? Her neighbor.
Oh, Dottie?
No.
Oh,
Oh,
Her
Angie?
friend. Angie. Yes, what if Angie is Madame Masque?
Oh,
nice. Well, they're moving to L.A., so they would all have to go to L.A., right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. We'll see. We'll see. And then also, Lobster, tell us about the Mohawk, please,
Oh, sorry.
sir.
I
Oh,
just thought Madame Masque is actually the Black Dahlia, and the Black Dahlia murder was all an elaborate plot to throw off everybody from her trail.
Maybe. Be an integrated storyline, which Marvel has done before. So we'll see. So John Bernthal from
Bernthal.
yeah.
yeah,
So,
Bernthal from Walking Dead
and in the-
has apparently a mohawk now, which
That's not a mohawk.
It's not
Yeah.
a mohawk.
It's a high and tight, I guess. I don't know what you would call it, but so he.
It's okay. At A&M, we call this, I think, the senior haircut for the Corps cadets.
Okay.
So,
I mean, it fits because he's supposed to be like a military man or something like that. But we see him taking down a guy on the street. Looks like he's been roughed up. Yeah, and so he's
Which is
playing
generally true for the Punisher.
Frank
Yeah.
Castle in the upcoming Daredevil season 2, and he looks the part.
Yeah. And then you also put a story in there about Werner Herzog directing Ant-Man. What would happen?
So there's this series of YouTube videos that this guy has done, and he did one about what if Wes Anderson directed the X-Men. So it's Patrick H. Willems, and so Werner Herzog is this surrealist, really, really awesome German director. And his trailer for the Werner Herzog Ant-Man film is amazing, and I can't really describe it. You'll just have to watch it. So we'll make
it's
sure
this,
that
like,
that.
kind of monotone German guy
Yeah.
narrating everything in just the most Werner Herzog way imaginable. It's great.
It's got some good trick photography. The costume's cool. There's a giant pile of poop, which I now I really wish we could go in Ant-Man. But
This is not Crimson Comet.
no, no.
Let's not go to the poop jokes.
Can't
So,
stop the flow.
yeah. So, Civil War, we have several stories from that. We're going to be ramping up, I'm guessing, Civil War news stories as they continue their filming and march on to their release date next year. So, first of all, there is a spoiler story out there about the details on the pivotal international incident. So, if you want to learn a little bit more about what's going on, I would go ahead and check that out. But we're not going to spoil anything here because we know people like Chris don't want to be spoiled. Chris from All Things Good and Nerdy, another podcast on the Gonna Geek Network that we talked about before. Also, apparently Spider-Man is going to possibly have 2 costumes. I haven't seen confirmation of that, but I have seen a couple of stories about that.
It's the
So-
latest rumblings.
The idea is that he's going to have one costume that's homemade and one possibly given to him by Stark. And it's in the comics, that's a big part of his involvement in Civil War is he gets what's called the Iron
The
Spider
Iron
suit.
Spider.
Yeah. They're not saying what if, it's going to be like that, but we know from Age of Ultron that Stark just makes everybody look cool.
He does.
So
Yeah.
it seems like that's what he'll be doing.
Gives them a secret base on the upstate of New York that
Yep.
apparently everybody actually knows about.
So this and again this I like because it explains the issue that came up in this episode of Daredevil, which is I never learned to sew. Does he order the costume online? How does he get the cool threads that he wears? So it'd be neat to see that.
I'm more of an Iron Man guy. I'll weld a costume together. I won't sew it
The box of scrap.
in a cave. Yeah.
In a cave.
So also this is awesome because I know a lot of people want to see Black Panther, and guess what? We're seeing some Black Panther set photos in Civil War now. It's
Yep.
awesome.
Or maybe it's a stunt guy, but it's still wearing the costume and it
What
looks
I've
cool.
seen, there's the second link that's I put on there. There's both. There's the stunt guy in the costume, and then Chadwick Boseman is also in the costume for a couple scenes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It looks remarkably like the concept art that they put up like a year or two ago when they announced that they were going to do this. And he's right there on the side of the building. So it's pretty nifty to see.
Mm-hmm. So also apparently there's a story about the DVD Age of Ultron covers on Black Widow's missing from it. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
So remember how she was missing from the toys, and including that scene that she was in all the commercials that they made the toy of, and then they had like Iron Man or Cap driving the motorcycle instead. So the UK cover of Avengers: Age of Ultron has started to be advertised on Amazon UK, and it features Hulk, Iron Man, Cap, and Thor. And sometimes Ultron, depending on if you get the Blu-ray or the Blu-ray 3D. Or the DVD or the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
And, I mean, there's no Widow. I guess, there's no Quicksilver or Hawkeye or Scarlet Witch
Right.
either. But come on, people!
Yeah.
This is such a strange
She
thing.
was in the movie more than Thor was.
Mm.
This is such a strange thing to me because so many times it goes by the billing of the actors, and if you read like the billing, it'll have the names in a certain order, and I don't know really the politics of it, and it doesn't always work out on screen time because a lot of times you'll see an actor with minimal screen time get like top billing or in the above the title, as they say sometimes. And then you'll have other people in the film relegated to the back cover, which I always think is kind of like they'll have a picture on the back of, one or two other people. So when you pick it up off the shelf and flip it over, you see them. I think unless you're going to have the DVD cover be the size of the movie poster. With movies like this, you're never going to really fit everybody in properly. And a lot of times you just end up with really, really clever, really, really cluttered cover art. But again, in this case, it really does feel like a slight. Like there's an empty spot under Iron Man and Hulk's armpit that you could totally put somebody. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. It's just, let's just get over it.
And that's where she
Marvel.
kind of is on the poster anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's disappointing. I hope that the art is different here in the States, but
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe they'll learn. Maybe not. We'll see.
Obviously not.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess don't buy the physical disc. Just buy
Digital
digital
copies.
copies or something. I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
I
some
don't know
of
what's
us have internet that occasionally puts us out.
right. I know. I don't. Yeah, I don't know what the answer is to this one. It's certainly disheartening to see, but
Yeah. Hopefully sometime they'll finally get the message. And talking about another corporate entity that just doesn't get the message. Apparently Fox, our favorite network, yes, the TV network, the ones that canceled a bunch of shows like Firefly and what was that futuristic cop show that
Almost human.
Almost human.
Almost Human? And come on,
Which they also aired out of order, apparently.
Yes.
Fox. You mean Gotham? My show Gotham. was on
yes,
Fox?
the Gotham, which is there's another story and that we'll talk about later about Gotham and Supergirl, but we won't talk about it because it's DC. But apparently they're both running against each other, and
Yeah, they are. They're in the same
CBS
time
is
slot,
saying,
yeah.
"Well, we're doing it because it's more family friendly and it's a different audience, so
Yep.
we'll be all fine." No, you
They'll
won't.
be fine.
Okay.
I mean, reruns of The Big Bang Theory on CBS crush Gotham. So,
Right.
I mean, Two Broke Girls crushes Gotham. So,
But Fox, the same network that brought you Gotham, is also considering an X-Men TV series, and apparently
Okay,
it's confirmed.
Well, they're in negotiations. It's
Okay.
not really confirmed yet.
Okay.
But this actually loops back around to the Fantastic Four discussion. There are some rumors that part of this negotiation might be, we'll sell you back Fantastic Four at a reasonable price if you let us make this live action TV show.
Yeah.
yeah, that would be interesting to have an X-Men show and a
Agents
Batman
of
show
S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah.
on
Guys.
the same network. But
Guys, I want it. I
I
really want it.
Well,
guys.
now,
I've
wait a
wanted
minute.
it
You want it
since
now,
the
but if it's on
Generation X TV pilot movie in the 90s.
if it's on Fox, do you want it on Fox?
I want it on Fox if they don't screw it up, which
Yeah.
is as much money as they're going to have invested in the project. It's going to be like Gotham, where they'll keep it going even if
Yeah.
it doesn't really warrant
I
it.
mean, Gotham kind of underperformed, but they're still gung-ho about season 2.
They're doubling
So,
down.
Again, with the X-Men thing, it depends on how they do it. And I feel like I know that they've been bandying about a New Mutants idea.
Yes. Yes.
That's been going around as a film. I kind of wonder if they would go that way as a series. They did have something. Do you guys remember Mutant X?
Yep.
Yes.
So that was a thing that existed for a bit.
And then
Uh,
abruptly did not.
It
Yep.
did not.
I watched it hoping it would scratch that itch, and it didn't. But
No.
I still
and
watched it.
And again, like I mentioned, they did flirt with the idea in the 90s and actually had I mean, I was a big Gen X fan, so I was
Yeah.
excited to see the TV movie. It's pretty bad.
I watched it, y'all. It's on YouTube.
Yeah. It's a negative. But
Fun fact, though, the guy that played Banshee on the show also voiced Banshee on X-Men: The Animated Series.
nice.
Neat.
So yeah, I would like to see it, but again, that's coming from a place of give me more comic book stuff to love.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, we're talking about where's the saturation point going to be? I think this next
Right.
year is going to be very telling between Legends of Tomorrow and Supergirl and everything
Yeah.
else. So we'll see. I'm actually cautiously optimistic that this will be a banner year for comic book shows on TV, but we'll see.
TVs and movies both are getting slammed hard by comic books in 2016.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
It's a big industry, and again, I think as Fantastic Four shows, that it's not a guaranteed moneymaker.
No, but I think one of the reasons that Ant-Man succeeded is because it was in the same universe, and you were able to get some of those minor callbacks and integration into the general Marvel universe. The whole flashback scene with Stark and with Agent Carter.
More than that, I think it has to do with advertising. You saw trailers for Ant-Man and you're like, oh, that looks like it's going to be fun and good. And you saw trailers for Fantastic Four and you were like, what's happening? I don't know what's going to happen.
Or you saw that cool thing where the thing like jumped out of an airplane and stuff, and then that wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
So then you're like, what?
Yeah.
False advertising. I want my money back.
I really think that should be classified as false advertising if there's a shot or a moment in the trailer that you're excited for that's not in the movie. Or
if there's like one or so, a couple, I mean, it happens. Stuff
it's
gets cut at the last minute.
If
it
it's
seemed
clearly
like half of the trailer, from what it sounds like, was not in the movie.
And Ant-Man did this too, where there were a couple scenes where it's like, I want you to be the Ant-Man, but in the movie the line's a little bit different, or it's shot a little bit different, so you don't realize that he's like, I'm Ant-Man. I didn't pick the name, but you don't realize.
It's like they cut the trailer together from earlier takes or something like that, from different takes, because they didn't know which one was going to make the final cut yet.
Yeah, so
and they do that a lot, but I feel like, and another thing that bugs me, to tie it back to Marvel, is in Amazing Spider-Man 2, that cool shot in the trailer where you see he's about to fight the Rhino and he's flinging the thing around, and then it cuts to black in the trailer. And you're like, oh man, I really want to see what's next. And they did the exact same thing in the movie where he's about to fight the Rhino, he flings the thing around, and then it smash cuts to the credits. And you're like, what? You can't do the same thing twice. That's not fair.
All is fair when it comes to money and entertainment, that's for sure. Because after all, this is all entertainment. But what is not entertainment, what's real world, is in our awe section of the week. Jennifer Lawrence went to go visit a children's hospital. And, of course, a lot of actors have done this. You know, we've seen the whole superhero bowl, whatever, battle or whatever. And it was all winners, right? Well, Jennifer Lawrence went there, and just some of the pictures are great. She's bringing a lot of cool stuff to the children there. So I'm happy that these actors are able to give back the way they are. So it's all great. And then from a comic standpoint, I guess on the heels of Fantastic Four flopping, at least Spider-Man has a 53rd anniversary of his first comic book appearance, so yay, Stan Lee.
Yay.
And then I was searching for it, and I ran out of time. I didn't find it, but I did see a story about Stan Lee going blind. Did anybody else see that story earlier on the past week? Yeah. It was on CNN. What's that?
What? I said he got his peepers knocked out.
Yeah, there you go.
Too soon.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I believe it was on CNN, and I'll try to find it and put it in the show notes, but there was a story in the fact that Stan Lee is losing his sight, and I think it's
it's from, he mentioned that actually at Comic Palooza.
Okay. So I think it's macular.
Somebody asked him, what are your favorite comics that you've read lately? And he says, well, I actually haven't read any in about 5 years because my eyesight's so bad that I can't read them.
Yeah. And I can't remember if it's macular degeneration or something, but yeah, that's one of the reasons why he had big, huge glasses on in his last appearance.
I'm sorry that I joked about it.
Yeah.
Jerk.
There you go.
Hate mail to
Jono Jerkface.
At Jono Lobster. At gonnageek.at.com.
Yes. John Lobster at gonnageek.com. There you go. And if you like this podcast, you will love other podcasts on the network like Voices of Defiance. And we have been having a great time this summer talking to a bunch of actors and crews on the show. Season 3 is underway right now. A few episodes left. It is the best season out of the bunch by far. And in our latest episode, we get to interview Conrad Coates. And why was that important? Because he was in Tron Legacy. Yes, he was. It was great. We talked to him a little bit about that and a little bit about his filmography goes back to 1989, War of the Worlds. So he is a classically trained actor, comes across that way anyway, and he has just been in a bunch of sci-fi. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of a Patrick Stewart, but Defiance is definitely his big role that he's had on TV in a while, and he did have that part in Tron Legacy, so that was cool. So check that out on the GonnaGeek.com network. So we're going to get on to some feedback. Keep those tweets and Facebook posts coming. Oh, we love them. And we love the news that you give us. Mr. Pericles tweeted us the Elizabeth Hendrich story about... Elizabeth Henstridge story about Simmons Living. So thank you very much. And we didn't get a live tweet this week because, as was mentioned before, Lauren was dealing with a little bit of weather situation. So
yeah, there was a bit of a storm going through yesterday. I lost power a couple times, so
Stupid weather.
yeah.
stupid weather.
And I was busy trying to get a podcast out, so I couldn't do it. And I believe Haley was working. So anyway,
No, I think I was recording another podcast.
yeah, there
I
you
knew a
go.
few.
That's, with any one of us, it's probably fair game. We're recording podcasts. Oh, anyway, we will be live tweeting again next week, Lauren, right?
Yes, unless there is another natural disaster.
So generally throughout the year, Tuesday nights, starting at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, right, Lauren? You will be tweeting whatever we're doing, whether it's the
Indeed.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter, Daredevil, Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones.
Luke Cage.
There.
Iron Fist? No?
Iron Fist.
That's right.
There you go. And don't forget...
Fantastic Four. Oh, wait, no. Not yet.
It's not
Too
going on
soon,
schedule.
man. Too soon. And don't forget, go ahead, give us a 5-star review on iTunes. And also, don't forget to get us your funny review of Ant-Man if you want that Marvel crate. I will ship it anywhere. You know that. All right. You guys, any other feedback that you wish to discuss for today?
No.
All right. So thank you very much for keeping track with us this summer and getting ready for the next season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're on our way to the path of righteousness next week, episode 11 of the Daredevil season. Netflix, you have outdone yourself again. We are looking forward to that. We will have with us again Mr. Ferris. He will be joining us to talk more about Daredevil. It will be great. We have a website, legendsofshield.com, and a voicemail line, 844-THE-BUS-1. I missed the bus. I did. Do we have any indication of what the new bus is going to look like, Haley? Have you seen anything?
I haven't seen anything yet.
Well, that's bad because you're building it.
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm going to get to it as soon as I get all the Crimson Comet episodes out.
I see. You're in the same boat I am with this one. Okay. So 844-843-2871. Please give us your thoughts on Daredevil and the upcoming season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And if you want to, dish on, if you actually went out and saw Fantastic Four, go ahead, give us your thoughts, because none of us are going to do it, except for Lauren, because she likes bad movies.
Yes, that's true.
And we have the Facebook page, the Twitter page, the Tumblr page. We have the YouTube channel, which we have all our podcasts on audio. And, of course, forums, found at forums.gonnageek.com. We also are on Spreaker. You can find all our stuff there. And I understand, Haley and Lobster, that somebody on your podcast doesn't believe that Spreaker is a word.
I don't think it's a word. It's not a real thing.
We've got the clamors, too.
Yes, we have clamors.
Which
That's
sounds like something you should see a doctor about.
Yeah.
So go ahead, check all that out. Lobster, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I think it was great having you on, particularly this week, so we can have all that great comic book information about Fantastic Four.
Thank you so much. I still will not go see it. No, you couldn't. I don't think at this point you could actually pay me to go see it.
Not in a theater. I need to see it somewhere where I can pause it and refill drinks and get snacks and stuff.
Yeah,
you
that's
can
fair.
actually do that at the movie theater. Just get up and walk around and do that for everybody. I think
I
everybody
mean,
would
there'll
enjoy
probably
that.
only be like 2 people there. So.
Yeah,
It's true.
Well,
Good point.
won't
Yell
take
up
you
to the
long.
projection room. Hey, can you hit pause for a second?
They probably would. So, yes, thank you very much for dropping by, and you're welcome back anytime, sir.
Thanks so much for having me.
And I want to thank everybody that is listening to us on Mixlr and everybody that's listening to us on YouTube. So we really appreciate your patronage, and let us know how you found us. That would be great, too.
Yeah, I want to thank everyone that sends us feedback throughout the week and just everyone who's listening. We really appreciate it. If you weren't listening, we would be talking into a vacuum, which would still be fine for us.
Because it would be science. Because how could you talk into a vacuum?
But
I talk
into
into
it,
my
just like
vacuum
making sound.
sometimes. When I'm cleaning, I talk into my vacuum. I'm like, hey.
I'd like to thank everybody on Twitter. Again, interacting with y'all during live tweets is great. Interacting with y'all during the week is even greater, possibly. Just hearing from y'all, it's nice and heartening to know that you're there.
It absolutely is. We like doing this podcast, and we like you with us. So until next time, I'm Agent Stargate Pioneer.
I'm Agent Haley.
I'm Agent Lauren.
And I'm Lobby Lobs. Agent Lobster. Bye now.
Bye. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. If you want to leave us feedback, go to gonnageek.com and you will find all of our contact information and other shows. You can also visit legendsofshield.com where you'll find our complete archive of podcasts. The music heard on this podcast is by Kevin MacLeod and can be found at incompetech.com. The opinions heard on this podcast are those of the individual host and do not represent Legends, Stream, or Gonna Geek. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the property of the Disney Corporation. No infringement is intended.